Good morning. My name is Hannah Kiley, and I'm the administrator. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all today? Good. I'm glad you're here. My name is Hannah Kiley, and I'm the administrator and the assistant director of religious education. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Corpus Christi, and I'm honored to serve as your worship associate this morning. We welcome you to our worship service celebrated here each week, mindful of the principles of our free faith. To describe a little bit about what Unitarian Universalism is, I will share with you some words from Andrea Lerner. Our faith is not interested in saving your soul. We are here to help you unfold the awesome soul you already have. Although we do practice a free faith, it is also one that requires responsibility. We have a church covenant which is a shared agreement that we recite together each week and reminds us of our closely held values. The mission of our church is we learn, we lead, we love. We do have a few announcements this morning. Today after service, the teens are holding a bake sale. All proceeds will go to our church's 2 playgrounds, so please find something delicious. We do have the UU Music Review coming up on February 17th at 7 p.m. That is a Saturday, $10 in advance. You can get your tickets from Joe. He's trying to find you in the foyer after service. And then we've got a few great things coming up. We have a class, Elderhood and Spirituality, from Aging to Saging with Reverend Rosie Rimrod, and that's going to be 8 Thursdays starting February 15th, and they will begin meeting at 1 p.m. Today after service, the Pathways to Membership class begins. If you did not already sign up but you would like to join, just go ahead and join them today. And then we have on the 21st, the Curiosity group will meet, and Margaret will do, her topic is Do We Need Banks? So please join us for those fun events. It is our custom in this church to offer visitors and newcomers a chance to introduce themselves if they feel comfortable. Do we have any newcomers or visitors that would like to introduce themselves? Yes, please.
My name is Ron McCool. I'm from West Virginia, and I'm a long-time museum person.
Welcome. We're happy to have you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Please stay after service to have coffee and conversation. All right, we now invite you into a time of worship.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Chris Hockman, and I'm very happy to be here with you today for this one special Sunday a year where we do this slightly unusual but lighthearted ritual of celebrating that we are all made of stardust. Our opening words this morning are by Matthew Johnson, and Autumn will be lighting our chalice this morning. For 5,000 years or more than 15,000 generations, Human beings have been invoking spiritual power. My predecessors and yours have gathered together to make sense of their lives and their place in the cosmos. And they have spoken aloud and invited what they conceived as sacred and powerful to be with them. They called upon spirits of air and earth, fire and water. They called the bear and the deer. They asked for the raven to protect them. They pleaded for the heroes of old to slay the monsters of their fears. They sang songs they learned from their grandparents and moved in the appointed ways, or in ways that were new, but felt like the right thing to do. And they imputed power to these spirits and to the memories of those heroes. They called them gods, and they were invoked. Every group of people everywhere, they gathered to make sense of their lives and to make sense of their place in the cosmos. And they called these spirits to be present to them. And so do we. So do we. We gather this morning to make sense of ourselves and this universe in which we live as best as we are able. And we call ourselves to worship together, and we invoke the power and the wonder of life itself, that to which all those spirits and memories pointed the way. We invoke that power, which is, we know, always around, always with us, but which we sometimes forget about. We forget that we are part of the whole creation. We forget that we are stardust. We forget that we are capable of miracles. First among them, that we can love. We forget these things, so we invoke the power of existence so that we can remember, so we can lift our eyes and open our ears to the true and the beautiful. For 5,000 years or more, we have done this. In many tongues, in many ways, we have done this. And so we continue that ancient tradition in our way, in our time, and so let us now worship together. Please rise in body or spirit for the reading of our church covenant.
Love is the doctrine of his church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all we hold sacred.
Please remain standing for our opening hymn, Touch the Earth and Reach the Sky.
Touch
Now I'd like to invite all of the children and the young at heart up to our story quilt, and we have a special guest storyteller today by the name of Isabel Garcia.
Good morning. Today I'm reading You Are Stardust. You are stardust. Every tiny atom in your body came from a star that exploded long before you were born. You started life as a single cell. So did all other creatures on planet Earth. Like fish deep in the ocean, you called saltwater home. You swam inside the salty sea of your mother's womb. Salt still flows through your veins, your sweat, and your tears. The sea within you is as salty as the ocean. The water swirling in your glass once filled the puddles where dinosaurs drank. From oceans to sky to land and back again, the same water has been quenching thirst for millions of years. You learn to speak the same way baby birds learn to sing, by chatting with your parents, ma, 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 tweet, tweet, tweet. Be still. Listen. Like you, the earth breathes. Your breath is alive with the promise of flowers. Each time you blow a kiss to the world, you spread pollen that might grow to be a new plant. Inside your brain, electricity stronger than lightning powers your every thought. You sneeze with the force of a tornado. Wind rockets from your nose quicker than a cheetah sprints. You grow at night when your bones are resting, just like the sheep you count to help you sleep. You may sprout even taller in the spring and summer, just like the plants in your garden. Your hair falls like autumn leaves. You tend to shed the most hair in early autumn and save your thickest growth for the heart of winter. Your body constantly changes. New cells line your stomach every 3 days. You replace your skin 100 times by the time you turn 10. Just as forests grow new trees in place of old ones, you grow entirely new skeletons throughout your life. If you were a planet, you'd be a lot like Earth. Rainforests on land and algae in the oceans are the Earth's lungs. From your head to your toes, inside and out, billions of teeny microorganisms live on planet U. You know how it feels to be a good friend, and so do other animals. Bats and sperm whales get their friends to babysit. Elephants remain best buddies for life. You, me, birds flying through the rainforest, we are all connected. We are all nature. We are all stardust.
What a wonderful story. Thank you so much, Isabel. Our church community is given life through the contributions of its members and friends. In addition to generously offering our time and talents, monetary contributions are just as necessary to sustain us. It is just one more way we show our care and concern for each other and our community. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
And that's the idea. This is one of your favorite hymns. Please sing along and feel free to clap. This is Building a New Way. We are building
Our words for meditation this morning are from the Reverend Dr. Lynn Unger. The universe does not revolve around you. The stars and planets spinning through the ballroom of space dance with one another, quite outside of your small life. You cannot hold gravity or seasons. Even air and water inevitably evade your grasp. Why not, then, let go? You could move through time like a shark through water, neither restless nor ceasing, absorbed in and absorbing the native element. Why pretend you can do otherwise? The world comes in at every pore, mixes in your blood before breath releases you into the world again. Did you think the fragile boundary of your skin could build a wall? Listen. Every molecule is humming its particular pitch. Of course, you are a symphony. Whose tune do you think the planets are singing as they dance? Yes, the sound of the planets. We have a little change in our candles this week. We now have 2 sandboxes for the candles. So if you would like to come up and light one today representing a joy or sorrow you hold in your heart, please do come up the center aisle, and then we can have 2 lighters at a time, one on either side. I now invite you into a moment of silent contemplation. We're going to do things in a slight different order than what is in the order of service. I'm going to start with a homily because I know if we Stardusted you all first, you would not be able to sit still and listen. And I'm not talking about the children, by the way. So this is one Sunday a year when we celebrate a particular creation story. It's not the familiar story from the Hebrew Bible that begins, "In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters." Although it has beautiful imagery, it's not the story we're going to talk about today. In fact, most cultures have their own creation stories, stories of how the world began and how people first came to inhabit it. It's like it's in our human DNA to want to know how we and everything else that surrounds us got here. The creation story we're celebrating today doesn't come from the Bible or from any sacred text, but it is still a sacred story to many. This story comes from scientists, people who study the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and through experiment. And after all, as Unitarian Universalists, we get to draw upon science as a source for our spiritual and religious knowledge. The creation story we're celebrating today is called the Big Bang Theory. And it was first proposed back in 1927 by, get this, a Belgian Roman Catholic priest named Georges Lemaitre. The theory is based on observations that galaxies appear to be flying apart from one another, suggesting that the universe is actually getting bigger. And we trace this Big Bang back in space and time to nearly the original point of the explosion, the single original atom from which all the universe emerged 14 billion years ago. But you may be wondering, well, where does the stardust come in? The statement that everyone and everything on Earth contains minuscule star particles goes back to the early 1980s, when astronomer Carl Sagan, yay! You use love Carl, they just love him. When Carl Sagan hosted a TV show called Cosmos, where he famously said, "We are a way for the universe to know itself. Some part of our being knows this is where we came from. We long to return, and we can because the cosmos is also within us. We are made of star stuff." And of course, he meant that the carbon and nitrogen and oxygen atoms in our bodies, as well as atoms of all other heavy elements, were created in the stars over 4.5 billion years ago. Because humans and most other matter on Earth contain these elements, we are literally made of star stuff. But let's talk some more about Carl Sagan. During a public lecture at Cornell University in 1994, Sagan showed this image on the screen to his audience. And it's really hard, nearly impossible to see here. If you can look back, you can get a better idea on the back screen of what it's supposed to look like. Now, this photo was taken by the Voyager 1 space probe in 1990. And on this picture, he pointed out that the Earth is a tiny dot found in the middle of a ray of light on the very right of the photo. And it's a teeny tiny speck in the middle of the circle that was drawn on the screen. And regarding this image, he said, "We succeeded in taking that picture from deep space. And if you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. the aggregate of all our joys and sufferings, thousands of confident religions, ideologies and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and every peasant, every young couple in love, every hopeful child, every mother and father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended on a sunbeam. He continues, the earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and in triumph they could be the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of the dot on scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner of the dot. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity and all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from anywhere to save us from ourselves. It is up to us. It's been said that astronomy is a humbling, and I might add, a character-building experience. To my mind, there is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly and compassionately with one another and to preserve and cherish that pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. And that is why UUs love Carl Sagan. He tells us how science can evoke feelings of awe and wonder and connection and responsibility, dare I say spiritual feelings, even religious feelings. But it's more than scientific knowledge for knowledge's sake. Carl Sagan finds a moral perspective, a moral imperative in the vastness of our ever-expanding universe. This imperative to care for one another, to care for our planet, to be humbled in our smallness against a vastness we can't even begin to understand. We are made of stardust, and it's a miracle, a scientific miracle that we're here. And it's a miracle we so often fail to see. As we go forth today with our glittery smudges of stardust, may we all remember the miracle from whence we came, our responsibilities toward our fellow human beings and our earth we inhabit. May it be so. Now we will begin our Stardust ritual. As you are ready, please come up the center aisle and return back on one of the side aisles. And you'll be receiving your glitter anointment on your forehead, but if you'd prefer to have it on the back of your hand, just put out your hand. And please try to proceed as quietly as possible. We will have some videos, music, sound for you to listen to. And Hannah will be my helpful assistant. We're ready to begin.
What is the most astounding fact you can share with us about the universe?
The most astounding fact
The most astounding fact.
is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles that cooked light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars, the high-mass ones among them, went unstable in their later years. They collapsed and then exploded, scattering their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. These ingredients become part of gas clouds that condense, collapse, form the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So that when I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I look up. Many people feel small because they're small and the universe is big, but I feel big because my atoms came from those stars.
All right, I now pronounce us stardusted. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn. We laugh, we cry. You may be seated. Our closing words this morning are from Marjorie Newland Leeming. Remembering that our universe is so much larger than our ability to comprehend, let us go forth from this time together with the resolve to stop trying to reduce the incomprehensible to our own petty expectations, so that wonder, the sense of what is sacred, can find space to open up our minds and illumine our lives. Be blessed today and know that you are a wondrous child of a vast and wondrous universe, and that you are loved beyond belief. My friends, go in peace. Remember that you are made of stardust. And namaste.